Welcome back to this episode of I Date Money Presents Money Talks with yours truly, Lisa Drennan. And as you know, we always have a beautiful guest. And today she's one of my favorites. I just absolutely love her. She's actually the designer of all the, what is that called? The graphics and stuff like, the I Date Money. She's a designer. And look, you can see my little t-shirt, right? So welcome, Sarah D. She is a brand consultant and owns Elev8 Design. She's going to be sharing her money story with us because who doesn't have a money story, right? Who doesn't want to date money and have this beautiful relationship to make your money multiply? So welcome, Sarah. Thank you so much for sharing this space with us and for your beautiful presence. I just love that. So tell us, what is your earliest childhood memory when it comes to money?
Well, I think honestly, it likely goes back to back to school shopping, right? It was always this thing. And it's funny because I grew up in a very I'm gonna call it upper middle class neighborhood. And as I've gotten into adulthood, I've talked to others who had a similar experience, I guess, on the opposite or on the inverse of what I've experienced. But growing up upper middle class neighborhood, I definitely felt like our family fell on the lower end of the economic spectrum of the class that I was in and the school that I was in. So back to school shopping was always this experience of, so to speak, keeping up with the Joneses. And I'd say, well, my friends have the gel pens and they get new binders every year and a new calculator and new this and new that. And my mom goes, you have a calculator that works. Why do you need a new one? Right. And so there was always this differentiator between need and want. And I guess, so to speak, shopping in a budget. Right. But there was a point, again, I was still a young kid. There was a point that changed. And I remember very specifically my mom telling me one year we were shopping and it caught me off guard totally. She goes, don't worry about the price tag, money will come. And it was like such a stark contrast to what I had experienced up until that point in my life. And I guess I just didn't really understand what she meant at the time or, what the mechanism of that was. Obviously now as I've grown up and running my own business and all the things, I understand that whatever was happening at that point in time with my mom and my dad and their business and life and investments and whatever have you, there was a shift in the money mindset that they had. Right. And so it's just interesting because that moment really sticks in my head because it was kind of like this free for all of oh my God, I can spend anything. Right. So.
And then what an awesome feeling to be able to don't worry about the price tag.
Yeah.
I know when I took my kids' school clothes shopping, I had a budget. Like you get $250 for school clothes. You can go wherever you want, buy what you want, whatever, when it's gone, it's gone. That's all you got. And they really appreciated that, because and then as they got older, the name brand clothes that cost $100 for a pair of jeans was no longer a first choice.
Right.
And really good at shopping the clearance racks. So
yeah. And, it's like I said, it's interesting because I do have friends that kind of grew up on that other end of the spectrum where they were the friends who their families went on vacations where most of their classmates couldn't go on vacations. Right. And that wasn't my experience. Everybody in my class went on vacations and I'd be like, Mom, why aren't we going on vacations? Right. So it's just super interesting that these stories or these experiences get planted into us at such a young age and how it shapes us in life and how our outlook on life and of the experience of abundance or lack or what they have and we don't have and really being able to see that the social class that just exists, right? It exists, but bringing awareness to it in a different way.
Yeah, and so much of what we know about money comes from our parents who in most cases they don't really teach their kids about finances, but they model it. Mm-hmm. So in your household growing up, what was modeled for you?
I think I had both ends of the spectrum. My dad, both my parents ran a business together. My mom was also a stay-at-home mom and she managed a lot of the back end, the books and what have you. And it's funny because my dad, he was a workhorse. He did not stop working. He was out of the house at 5 a.m. He was at the lab, and sometimes it would be dark before he came home, like 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night, sometimes, even later when I was like an infant. And my mom, on the other hand, I always heard my dad complain, like, he wouldn't know what's really happening with the money in the business. It would just be taken care of. And so my mom knew what was happening with all the money and like where it was going, and what the profit margins were and all of that. And so my mom would, I pick my words carefully here because exploit isn't the right word, but my mom would feel comfortable going, okay, like we have this amount of money to go shopping with or whatever. And so we would do those things, or experiences or first class tickets on the flights or whatever it might be. And I just remember seeing steam come from my dad's ears because all he saw was money going out, but he had no idea like what was coming in or any of that. And so I think, it was the frugalness and the, I work really hard for my money, and like, let's conserve it because I'm supporting a family of 4. And, we if I don't work, it doesn't come in mentality. And then my mom was like, let's just enjoy it. We have it, so it was this very like stark contrast that was modeled for me. Yeah.
And which did you adopt?
Oh, I definitely adopted the money will come. Let's just spend it. If I'm being totally honest. And it's interesting. It's really interesting because I look at my sister, again, raised in the same household. I would say our upbringings were super similar. But she's much better at the money management thing than I am. She was a nurse, and she had retirement savings and this and that, and I'm just like this totally irresponsible entrepreneur that just like does whatever I want and figures it out along the way, right? So, serve and limit to all things.
Yeah, well, it's kind of scary not having a money management system in place. That just gives you that comfort, that security blanket.
Absolutely.
And learning, like, understanding why, and I know those tools are in place. So, imagine money is a person and you're dating money. What does money say to you on your very first date?
Money is telling me to order the Dom Perignon. And money is saying, you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, so might as well enjoy it today.
Live for the moment.
I'm live for the moment. I live for the experiences, and it's not to say to be irresponsible with it and to be totally reckless, but also just realizing that like, hey, there's only only so many things are guaranteed in life, and that is birth and death, right? Like, and not even really birth, we get to, that now that we're here, it's guaranteed, right? So it's
Right.
like just getting to enjoy those experiences along the way. And yeah, it costs what it costs. And I always ask, how do you make it work? How can I, what do I have to do? Yeah, just enjoy it.
Yeah. And when you think about that, so you really don't have a money management system in place, AKA is a budget, but the word budget just makes my ears cringe.
I think the money management system is slowly evolving. It's slowly taking shape. It didn't exist even, I'm going to say even a year ago, but especially, being in your world, and now that the contracts that Elev8 is closing now compared to where we started, money management absolutely has to be a thing. I mean, I have overhead when it comes to software, when it comes to team management, when it comes to just my time, right? My time that goes into all these things. And, I have goals that in terms of where I want to live and how I want to live and investments I want to make. So ultimately, there was a bit of a crossroads where I was like, okay, I can't keep doing what I'm doing. And there something needs to, and I'm not even going to say give. I don't think the way I've enjoyed my money has really changed. It's just now I have a better idea of like where things are going and how it's allocated, and, putting money aside for things like software and not just, pulling it out of thin air when I need it. Right. So it's taking shape, and it's definitely, it's been a work in progress, and it's been something that I'm consciously bringing my awareness to.
Yes, I love that. The money multiplier system works regardless of how much money you make, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Give those little soldiers a job.
Well, and this is it, right? Because like I said, the lifestyle itself hasn't really changed all that much. if anything, it's just given me a little more confidence. And it's like, hey, you know what? I was just on a trip in Mexico, and it was like, I live in Canada, so I wear turtlenecks most of the time. And so, buying some sundresses and sandals and things that I needed to just be comfortable on my holiday, I knew that I had the flexibility to do so, as opposed to just putting it on a credit card and hoping and praying I could do so. Right. Like it was knowing instead of the hope and pray method.
Yeah. Yeah. And making those money goals work for you and say like, yeah, I got this coming up and this is what I'm doing. This is on my bucket list. And I confidently have this cash available and I don't have to pay, a credit card company interest because I have the money and I planned for it. And when I think of that wealth activation roadmap, that's what I think, like, you're just driving along and you're like, oh, because you're not going to take a trip without buying the sundresses, making the plans, booking the flight, right?
Exactly.
And if you give your money that same way, it makes it so easy. And, all the entrepreneurs I talk to, they don't pay themselves first. Like, cut yourself a paycheck, people. What are you thinking? You're your best asset, and pay yourself 50% and then do the rest with the your business expenses and stuff. So making all this plan. So I love that. And I know you had a great you did the 10% savings and you had a great result with that. So that's amazing. Like taking one little baby step.
Yeah.
So tell us about your business. I mean, I absolutely love you. You're obviously my my I Date Money designer, and I'm just so thrilled with the work that you do. You've designed quite a few things for me. So tell us about that. Give us your 90-second elevator pitch. And the
Absolutely. I'll watch the time here. Yeah. So, I mean, I work with anywhere from emerging entrepreneurs all the way to established 6 and 7 figure CEOs. And there's a branding package for everyone, right? Branding is so much, it's not ever one and done. It's always this, it's evolving, it's a living, it's breathing, it's doing all of the things. And as your business grows, so does your brand. And the idea is when we start with the emerging entrepreneur and we are building you to that 6 and 7 figure CEO, the brand story just amplifies and it becomes that iconic brand story that when people see I Date Money, when they see the neon green and pink, they immediately think Lisa Drennan, I Date Money, right? And so that is ultimately what Elev8 Designs does for our clients. And we're rapidly scaling, rapidly building teams and systems. So service offerings are always expanding and new things are coming down the pipe very shortly.
Beautiful. I love that. I love what you do. So share, what's the gift or talent you'd like to share with our audience?
I promise you, I'm not singing. Well, how about they can just go on, peek over at my profiles and check out my gifts and talents and my artwork. I don't know. What do you want me to share, Lisa?
Whatever you'd like. What comes to mind? People are very shy about their gifts and talents.
I feel like my gifts and I mean, if I was wearing a bra, maybe I'd dance for you, but there's I don't know if the internet needs to really see that.
No, we'll keep it clean. Oh, I love
I'm just being honest, full transparency.
Yeah. Well, you do have you can talk about your talents. I mean, you do beautiful work. You have a way of bringing out the story, the brand story for people. You also dance, right? You were a gymnast.
I was a gymnast. So, I mean, it was funny at the retreat that I was just at in Mexico the past week. We really talked about, I have a lot of fun performing and dancing and being on stage. And, it's almost that like if you've ever performed or, stood in front of a crowd before and the butterflies in your stomach, right? It's like, it's this adrenaline thing that, I won't skydive, but I get adrenaline from being up on stage. And so it was really like, how can I bring kind of this performance aspect and performance value into the work that I do and online? And so, that, like I said, there's things coming down the pipe for me.
Oh, I'm excited.
But dancing and, being up in front of a crowd, being on a microphone, being a little bit of a goofball is, child at heart, right? Why grow up?
That's true. You always have fun. Childlike laughter is awesome. And being able to just do what you want to do when you want to do it. That's amazing.
Just a shimmy.
So what's the best way for our audience to get in touch with you?
Absolutely. So the best way you can find me, I'm on all major social platforms. So Facebook, it's my first and last name. So Sarah with an H, last name Dissegna. And on Instagram, you can find me at Elev8, ELEV, the number 8 designs.co. So
awesome.
there you
And
go.
we'll put those links in the show notes
Yes.
so you can connect with it. And what words of wisdom would you like to part with for our audience?
Absolutely. You know, this is something that I've recently really been focusing on, and it's like, nobody's going to do it for you. Nobody is going to drag you over that finish line. If you want to run the marathon, you've got to haul your ass over the finish line, right? And so find a way that makes it easy for yourself and that works for you, because there is no one right way. But you do have to find a way that is going to align with you, your goals, and how you best work. So whether that's money, your business, design work, fitness, any of the above, you got to want it and you got to do it. So find that formula that works for you, grab the bull by the horns and just go for it, because
I love
you
that.
only got one life.
Yep. And do the thing, get out of your own way and do the thing. I love that. Well, thank you so
Exactly.
much for being here, for sharing your our time with our audience and your talents. And for those of you listening, you have to check out Sarah. Follow her on Instagram. She creates these beautiful reels too. And if you're in need of somebody to help you with brand design and you're an established entrepreneur, you know where you want to go, don't be in that thing, well, I'm not sure what I want to do, because that's just wasting everyone's time, right? But do connect with her. And remember, when it comes to money, it doesn't matter how much you make, it's what you do with it.